Welcome back. Sometime, it was not some very long back that the Washington Post put out a report which had said that that in return for the intervention that the Pakistani military did when Nawaz Sharif was facing that soft coup in August, the exact quote from the Washington Post was that it appears that the military has exacted a price from the Prime Minister. And according to reports, he had agreed to cede control of aspects of the country's security and foreign policy to the military. And in my view today, as we are reporting this story out of New York, Hussain Haqqani and Maruf Raza, this speech that he has made at the UNGA is a speech made by a spokesperson of the Pakistani military, not really by a prime minister.
Well, I would say, Air Marshal Rao said that's an internal matter of Pakistan. So let's not get into that.
But is it a reality or not?
But the fact remains that the hardline view on India does emanate from Pakistan's armed forces and from the ISI. Most civilians in Pakistan understand.
So you're not answering my question. My question was this: that even the Guardian reported.
There's no doubt about it.
The Guardian reported this.
Yeah, the answer to that is a simple yes. So I'm going on to the analysis.
There was a understanding. We'll diffuse the crisis for you, and then all principal areas of national policy, including foreign policy and defense policy.
He's not the first civilian to go through that process. The previous government also went through that process. The point is that is the hard line, and it seems to have happened.
Yeah.
Because this speech was not geared towards an international audience. Look, where I disagree with my Pakistani friends who are on the other side, all I'm saying is there's a place. If he thought that he's going to appeal to Pakistani sentiment, and I understand there is a Pakistani nationalism that is built around Kashmir, that is built around anti-Indianism. Some people like me have transcended it, and we feel we can love Pakistan without those two things, but there are many who think that they can't. Well, if that is the case, then he should have stayed back home and made this speech to the people of Pakistan.
Exactly.
You come to the United Nations General Assembly to win support from the international community.
Oh, yes,
what I am repeatedly asking is, how many votes did he win in the UN today? And my answer is none.
I don't know if he would have won votes
why
back
spend
home?
all this money, make all this effort to stand from the UN podium and make a speech that you can also make in the Army Auditorium in Rawalpindi?
Yeah. My quick answer to that is, I think, you see, Pakistanis will not take a Pakistani leader seriously enough if he makes such a speech within Pakistan, but he goes back to the temple of Pakistan's article of faith, which is the United Nations and the UN resolution, and makes this point there. He is playing to their sentiments, which is what he has to do right now, considering that he's embattled.
Yeah, my argument is a realpolitik argument.
And my question, in response to your very two clear arguments, is if there is a single soldier, and Maruf, you've been a soldier as well, and if there is a single soldier in Pakistan who is dying fighting terrorism, it is time for Pakistan to introspect and ask itself whether or not it is reaping the whirlwind that it sowed.
Absolutely.
That's the more fundamental question.
I think that was a bigger point where he actually walked into a trap in his speech.
And I think the problem actually, and I'd like to go back, Syed Tariq Pirzada is there with us, and Air Marshal Abidra is with us, and Rehan is also there with us. The problem of being myopic in the execution of foreign policy is that you're going to compromise your country's long-term interests, Mr. Pirzada. And the moment you let generals write the script of UNGA speeches, then you will inevitably get into the kind of quicksand that you will never be able to extricate itself off. Now, unless this was written by some hyperbolic, first-year student at the government college in Lahore who's very anti-Indian, I don't see any reason why such an amateurish speech should have been delivered by a prime minister. This could have only been written by a inexperienced undergraduate student.
Let me just interject.
One of the major generals or lieutenant generals of the Pakistani army. Why would you expose yourself in the way that Nawaz Sharif has done today? Why would you?
Let me answer that. Well, this is a script that is written in the heart of 200 million Pakistanis, number one. Number two, you have a traitor sitting next to you, Hussain Haqqani. He's a deserter of law, and he must be behind the bars. Number three, what Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has done, he has regained the moral high ground at the world stage.
Are you going to come and arrest him? Has he no point of view?
And secondly, he has to get...
No, one second.
First, he has
to
get
below the belt.
First, he has to get some court to issue my warrants, which have not been issued. So, Mr. Pirzada, personal attacks not allowed. That is not the civilized way. Unfortunately, you are doing what you do in Pakistan. That is why you are not heard abroad. So, I suggest that you keep quiet on the personal front. And if you are going to call me, names, I am not going to tell the truth. You're going to make it very obvious how lacking in intellectual capability you are.
You need to shut up. I have known you a long time. Shut up.
Sir, you are Mr. Pirzada.
Mr. Pirzada, I am not going to shut up because you tell me to.
I'm going to intervene. I'm not going to let this happen, Mr. Pirzada. Now I ask you a question. One second, Mr. Pirzada. Let me come in, please. It's a serious discussion. 1 minute, Mr. Pirzada.
The stage is
One second. First, please, this is a serious discussion. This is a discussion on your Prime Minister's speech at the UN Security Council, at the UN General Assembly. And if you have no answer to my very focused question, and if your only attempt to extricate yourself from a rather sorry situation you are in where you have no answer is by attacking Hussain Haqqani personally, then I won't let you do that, sir. Let Hussain, you question Hussain Haqqani on facts. Don't use bad language and don't get personal, sir. No, I won't allow that, sir.
And let me remind you, you guys are upset because a court in New York has issued a notice to your murderous Prime Minister. That's what it is. Because a court in New York has issued a notice to your murderous Prime Minister. That's what it is.
Sir, I think I will not.
More serious guests in future.
Yeah, I was expecting a clear answer, but if you would, I'm surprised, Mr. Pirzada.
He talks about 200 million Pakistanis, the Prime Minister who's been elected by 1 billion Indians. He calls him a murderous. That's not civilized discourse.
Yeah, he is. Look at this.
And I request you to be civilized, Mr. Pirzada, not just towards Mr. Hussain Haqqani. I certainly urge you not to use language which will embarrass you and your countrymen when you are referring to the democratically elected Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, if you are going to use language that I will not accept vis-a-vis our Prime Minister, sir, I'm sorry to say this to you, I will not allow you to participate in the discussion if you are going to refer to the Indian Prime Minister in the kind of sorry language which you use, Mr. Pirzada. And let that be my final comment to you on this subject. Now, let's go back to the substantive part of the discussion. My question was, and I hope I have a more serious response from Air Marshal Abid Rao on this. So why would you read out a script that has so many aberrations within it? Why would you, sir? Why would you change your line on Kashmir compared to last time? And why are your references to terrorism, first of all, so cursory and almost glossed over when compared to your detailed references on Kashmir? And even on the issue of terrorism, sir, when Nawaz Sharif said that we have had terrorism planted on our soil, would you care to clarify, sir, who sowed these seeds of terrorism? Who did?
Okay.
You tell me, Air Marshal Abid.
If Pakistan had done that in 80s, it is our now right to change our policy.
Global scourge. Where it becomes a global scourge.
In 80s with CIA,
and on the verge of becoming a pariah state.
Al-Qaeda was fighting America. Say again, please.
Sir, you did it as recently. You did it. You continue to do it. I'll just quick rebut. You continue to do it, and everyone across the civilized world, whether it's India or the United States of America, knows that Osama bin Laden was found on your soil with the patronage of the Pakistani army, and I'm just placing that for your reference, sir, unless you want to get into a blind spot.
Okay. These forces were created for a specific purpose at a particular time. Today, if they are hurting Pakistan, Pakistan has all the right to make a U-turn and eliminate them by force. And Pakistan is well within its right to say that, this terrorism needs to be eliminated, and this has its branches in Syria,
so it's an
Iraq.
Admission.
It has its branches elsewhere in the world.
That's an admission you made.
That is I have no shame in saying that. They were created and then, they need to be eliminated. That's the right policy. Number two, Whether I didn't say that an army general wrote the speech or what, but anybody in Pakistan can write the speech for a prime minister.
Marshal Abid Rao
Yes.
sahab.
Yes, I am listening, Maruf.
Marshal Rao, sir, hats off to you. This is, I think, to my mind, at least the second time that you've admitted on this channel that Pakistan did create these forces which are now eating into Pakistan and its people. And I think it's
Absolutely.
very
I mean,
important
it is
that
no
there
hidden
are
fact.
sensible minds like you who at least know where the problem comes from. And unlike Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who has gone on the UN today and said that forces of terror planted onto Pakistan, not making any mention of homegrown terror outfits which are biting the hands that fed them. So I think it's a very important admission. I think more importantly, may I request you humbly, sir, and also Mr. Pirzada, with whom I very rarely agree, but even then may I request you, what is your long-term vision statement between India and Pakistan and the people of Kashmir? What is the vision?
Beyond seriously,
Maruf, just let me finish. One word on this. One word. Just Maruf, 1 minute.
One word, one line. All right, let me hold on.
Mr. Pirzada, just give me 1 minute, please.
My turn. Okay.
What Tariq Pirzada seeks, what he very rarely seeks. Tariq Pirzada seeks tonight what he very rarely seeks. He seeks only an opportunity to speak one line, sir.
Okay.
Your 1 line and 10 seconds start now, sir. Please go.
One word about hatred between India and Pakistan. I do not agree with Mr. Hussain Haqqani that there is a hatred, for India. We all love Pakistan without hating India. I belong to the armed forces, community, but I am the biggest proposer of peace between these two countries. We don't have to hate India. There is no reason. But let me tell you one thing. People of Pakistan want friendship. People of India, I believe, want friendship with Pakistan. It is Indian media, Indian bureaucracy, and armed forces are well within the right to hate Pakistan. I grant them that grudge because, after all, they have to fight somebody. Now Mr. Pirzada can speak.
All right. Yeah. Let me just quickly say two things. Remember one thing.
Sir,
I've been saying over the years.
Sir, you are straying away from the discussion.
Let me say something, Arnab. Come on. Arnab, do I have the stage?
Go ahead. I'm not stopping you. You just took more than 2 lines.
All right. No. You just stop me.
You have
all right,
the space.
Quickly. Remember, I've been saying for the last two years at least that the only way that you can set the course, set the stage for a long-term cordial relationship with Pakistan through the resolution, through the instrumentality of the resolution of the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, which is a part of the unfinished agenda of the creation of Pakistan and India. If you don't do that,
sir,
there will be another prime minister who will not only be going to the UN, he'll be going to war. He'll be going to war. I was living, Pakistan,
sir, I'm an eternal optimist.
Pakistan cannot wait any longer. Pakistan,
I'm sorry to laugh when you talk about war.
I'm sharing.
Sir, do you realize now? And I've spent some time in New York over the last few days.
And
I say this to you, sir, with all seriousness.
71.
I've spoken to a number of analysts, number of reasonable people of eminence.
That's
I've
what we are talking
spoken to diplomats. And I've spoken to politicians. Only if you care to stop, Mr. Pirzada. And I'm sorry to say this to you, sir. I have to. I actually thought I would pull my punches and not say this to you. But I'm saying this to you with sincerity, sir.
Go ahead. Help yourself.
Will turn itself into an international laughing stock if you continue the same way. And while it is not our intention to make you the subject of global satire, I would like to share with you my concern that today you have slipped.
Of India, you guys have no face to show. You guys need to go and fight your case in the court in New York. You guys are just embarrassed. You are an embarrassed 1.3 billion people. You guys are an embarrassed 1.3
in July 2009,
people.
I'd like to go on, sir. I like to go on, sir. You know, sir. This is it's a very strange situation. Like to go to Rehan, and just because Rehan is not, sir, just because Rehan is not fighting her way to come into the debate, I don't think you can choose not to go to. I'd like to go to Rehan with just one straight question, Mr. Pirzada. Have the patience, sir, and show the courtesy today, at least, sir. Tonight, at least, sir. I urge you. I'm separated from you by 14,000 kilometers or 14,000 miles today. But I request you, Mr. Pirzada, I can hear you in the studio louder than I do in Mumbai. It appears that one thing does not separate, you know, how loud you are on my programs. It is distance.
I don't care. I don't care about the distance.
Now my question here was to Rehan, that Rehan, you know,
I'm glad you have changed your tone.
I know, sir. I couldn't mistake you for anyone else.
Keep laughing.
But you know, longer term worries, Rehan. There were these reports which I spoke about the Pakistani army striking a bargain with the Prime Minister to ensure that he isn't ousted and hence to hand over significant parts of control of foreign policy to them. As an observer of strategic affairs, don't you think that's a dangerous game to play on with?
I think, or not, that we fail to, we perhaps forget very conveniently that it isn't.
Sir, let Rehan answer that. So yeah,
yes.
Adjectives are colorful and amusing, but let Rehan answer that. Thank you.
Yes, I think we have to move on from screaming matches. It's very important to realize that the Prime Minister has made a speech on an international forum. Where would be a better place than to raise Kashmir as an issue? Are you denying the fact that it is an internationally recognized conflict? This is our only platform that we can voice our concerns. And I take an issue with the fact that you say that this is a script handed down to the Prime Minister through the establishment or the services as well as the military. This is something that in Pakistan people rightly have very deep concerns. I have part of my crew from a Kashmiri origin, and we have deep sensitivities, and this is a perfect forum to raise it. You raised the issue earlier in the show about us Pakistan becoming isolated in the global community, but the fact that the UN has been ineffectual, it doesn't really make it doesn't really make a difference either way, which is why I said in the beginning whether this was the right time for the Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to leave the country and go address at this forum. I think that we have conveniently forgotten that this was part of his mandate. People in Punjab and people in Pakistan have voted for this Prime Minister, allegedly through a heavy mandate, because Kashmir is an issue. These are the issues that the Pakistani politicians and the Pakistani parties get a vote for. So this is...
No, if this was his mandate, just a quick question to you, Rehan. If this was his mandate... No, if this was his mandate, just a quick counter to you, because I disagree with you in your analysis. If this was his mandate, then why did he discover this mandate only now when the domestic audience is baying for his scalp, where the army has leverage over him, that he decides to go ballistic? How did he discover his mandate after having a gun put to his head by the generals?
Let me remind you.
How come he didn't do it last year? Where was the mandate last year?
I take an issue with that. Arnab, I take an issue with that because it's a provocative statement by you. It is a provocative statement by you to allege that the Pakistani army has a gun point to a democratically elected Prime Minister. I think you forget the fact that recently the military has been praised for keeping a very respectable distance. And although the democratically elected parties have...
I didn't make a statement. No, I didn't make a provocative statement. I made a very objective
saying that the army is holding a gun point.
Maruf, quick response. I have a minute left.
Hussain Haqqani and Maruf. Has been held on gunpoint. That is a provocative statement because that's something that we would disagree with in Pakistan.
I think Rehan,
just a minute, please. Couple of minutes to Hussain Haqqani.
You have a valid point about the gun being held, etc., being an image that you don't want to talk about. But I think what Arnab was really saying was that if it's just about the mandate, why was it milder last year and harsher this year? Why doesn't the mandate translate into the same statement every year?
Yeah.
And I think that is a valid question for us Pakistanis.
If you allow me to respond to that.
Now, I have three Pakistanis on air right now, one from Karachi, one from Lahore, one from Islamabad. One has called me... One has called me.
The response from...
Let Mr. Haqqani complete. I have a minute, please. It's fair to let him...
Let me complete in 30 seconds and then you can
30
respond
seconds.
in 30 seconds. So my 30-second point is that unfortunately, it is, in my humble opinion, an error for Pakistan's sake to make Pakistan's entire foreign policy, however important the issue, to make it centered on only one neighbor and on only one issue. I think we have much bigger role in the world.
I agree.
For the future, we need to engage all of that. By the way, I'm not saying, as a Pakistani, I'm not saying we need to ignore Kashmir. All I'm saying is there are bigger issues of cooperation around the world that need to be focused on. And just a speech will not get us Kashmir, but it might lose us the prospect of talks with India.
Last question goes out here now to Maruf.
Before Rehan needs to get her 30 seconds.
In all, I could very quickly respond.
I have to stand up for my fellow
quick response to the fact that following his speech last year, he was heavily criticized back home for the lack of for the body language, as well as for him being apologetic on the stance of Kashmir. So this time it is being viewed as a very strong statement. I also wish to correct you. In my humble opinion, he also mentioned the other neighbor, Afghanistan, and talking about regional peace. So we have mentioned both neighbors in the speech. From the Prime Minister, I would say there was quite a balanced speech. The fact that we must promote dialogue and the dialogue must be the way forward does not mean that we can get rid of any of... we have some sensitivities in Pakistan, Kashmir being a very, very focal point. And we cannot be talking through a script handed down by India. So they must be talking about things that are our concerns in Pakistan.
Rehan, certainly you can't, but you can't, Rehan, read a script. No, it's humiliating for any democracy to allow a so-called democratically elected leader to read out a script written by a general after a soft coup. And by the way, Rehan, the same Pakistan that insists it's a victim of terror has in the past admitted, with your President Zardari admitting that you use terrorism as a method to achieve your foreign policy goals. That admission came from Zardari. I feel that was the one point when you really brought the level of your country's foreign policy down. But today, really, you face an existential crisis. Maruf, finally, Maruf, should Modi respond? And how do you anticipate Mr. Modi will respond to this? Looking away, is it really an option now for him?
I think Mr. Modi would respond, but in a measured way, because I think Mr. Modi's visit, not just at the UN, but the rest of the United States, is designed to convey a bigger picture of what his vision for India for next 5 years, if not 10 years, is going to be. And therefore, to be preoccupied with an issue just like Kashmir, as Pakistan is, would show that India's foreign policy is also stunted.
So he would probably respond.
He might. I mean, he'll probably be prodded to respond, but he'll probably move on to, I think, the big picture that the world is expecting from India. This is his opportunity to spell it out. If he doesn't do that, I'd be disappointed that he squandered an opportunity at the UN.
Absolutely. Well, spell it out in such a way that you silence the other side and then you move on. To all our guests in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, in New Delhi, and... And to Hussain Haqqani and Maruf Raza with me in the studios in New York. Thank you very much for being with us, taking a short break on the Newshour.